Elon Musk effectively called me an overgrown kid. I am, of course, kidding. It was Bard, his AI. So, I recently published the first random voice notes that are going to start kicking this off. And by this, I mean the remarks diary. And because it asked me to write a description, by the way, this podcast is on Spotify for podcasters. And so I was asked to write a description. So I wrote a brief outline of what I am and what this is. And I wrote that out, and I wanted to see what AI could do to make it sound better, make it more attractive, because my initial draft sucked. And AI is a thing, it's really good. So I fed it through, and one of the first things it came out with was something about an overgrown kid. It's like, follow along this overgrown kid's journey as he stumbles through life, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, did I just get called out? Did I just get called out by AI? And it goes along my previous episode where I mentioned that I've been going through lots of difficulties, and I've mentioned before in previous episodes where I admit that I lack self-discipline. And it's not just a small thing, it's a big indicator. Having self-discipline is a really big sign of maturity and having your shit together. Let that sink in, because it's sinking in for me when it shouldn't be. It should be so glaringly obvious, but that's the thing. If people are going through various experiences, whether they're suffering from just the lack of adulthood, the lack of maturity, whether it's being mature in a social environment or mature with yourself, there are ways to grow up all across your life. And I think it really helps to have role models initially, and throughout, really people who you aspire to be, or at least take an aspect, a characteristic that they have, and you go, oh, I really admire that, and I want to emulate that. I want to become more this or more that. It's great. We should always seek to do that. I think these days we're sorely lacking in public and personal, local role models. So that's not really an excuse of anything, it's a recognition. And in my life, I've lacked those role models, and in particular, male, mature role models. I realized that they may have been in the outskirts of my awareness, but none have been close enough in my life, especially in the kind of early adulthood years that I'm still relatively in. I mean, it depends on your perspective. I'm, heading towards 40. I'm further away from 30. So I should be so much more mature than I am. And in lots of ways, I am. I'm mature emotionally, I feel. I can resonate and empathize a lot more deeply than most other individuals with my same situation, my same archetype. But this isn't a comparison thing. I just realized more and more that by AI just feeding me back its own version, its own take of who I am and what this Remarks Diary is about, it was just a slap in the face, like, am I really an overgrown kid? And the answer is yes, I am. Objectively. I just haven't been aware to it. So another moment where you just get a dose of reality. And I need that because I've been hiding away. I've been hiding my shameful truths from the world, and I've been denying myself. Well, truth, yeah. I've been denying myself. Let's put it that way. Because myself only is, it's comprised of loads of different things, but really it's who you are in any given moment. It's simply that. Who I am, myself, my identity, the ego, the attachments, they all belong in the realm of time, as Eckhart says. And time is just a concept within our minds. We live in the past and the future. And we don't live in the now. But as he says, all there is now. All there is now. So the more we get enthralled and tied up and completely associated with our egos and our minds, the less we actually know ourselves. And we start believing entirely and continue to believe till the day we die, hopefully not, that we are ego and body and mind, and that's pretty much it. And we don't even know these terms. We just go along as if this is all there is, and this is who we are, and that's it. I'm going off in a very yellow direction. Obviously, this is very difficult. Speaking unscripted is tricky, and it's very helpful to have someone else there with you along your journey to point out your failings and your weaknesses, to not judge them, just point them out. As comedians are they make a habit of it, constantly pointing out their weaknesses and their insecurities. And it's a way of pulling out the comedic ability to actually counter that, remedy it with humor, remedy it with sarcasm, comedy, wit. But at least you're calling it out. And that's, I think, the most important thing, is that people need to call out all of our own little insecurities and just let them be in the light. Let them be true. Because what is, just is. We're in denial about so many things. We select our experiences, and that just simply can't be. It's insanity. It's insanity to deny what is. And what is just absolutely anything right now. Every now. So we live in our minds and we live in our egos. And I don't want to dwell in there anymore. I've been stuck. Totally stuck. And I realized that I have lots of unfavorable truths. And one of them is that I am really not mature in the ways of being an adult, of being self-sufficient. I'm not self-sufficient financially. And I haven't been, and I haven't shown enough will and determination and self-discipline and drive, motivation, whatever it is. I haven't shown or enacted enough to create a career for myself and a stable money earning life of work, essentially work life. I haven't established that for myself, and I have been showing less and less inclination to do so. And my experience has been downward. And I get all caught up and feel guilty and feel worse, feel inferior and insecure and more immature. And so I lean into my freedoms. I lean into my luxuries. And I allow myself everything except what I actually need. And what I was mentioning before about role models and having self-discipline is just that. It's self-derived. It's whether you do or you do not. The simplicity is such a stark realization now that I just haven't been mature enough to start with instilling more self-discipline and just waking the fuck up, grow the fuck up. Sorry for my language. Yeah, I need to grow up, and no one's really been around to tell me that, because no one really knows. And if my experience has been like this sorry state of affairs, if more people knew about it, then my ego would just fall to its knees. It would just want to shrivel up and die. And that's, you know what, that's kind of, if I need to be punished, if I need to be told and acknowledge, not even told, just acknowledge the truth that I've been a fucking waste. And I know that's not fully true, but in this regard, in this category, I want to mature and I want to get my shit together. So whatever that label is for you, whether that's just being a man or a boy, then I'd rather be a man. This is what I want. And I kind of need help. My dad wasn't around. And lots of people's dads weren't around. And growing up, I didn't have good male friends. Not in the early days anyway. Later on in my life. But in the early days, teenage days, when I needed the good role models to grow up, to mature, to become more self-disciplined and align myself with my desires, my drives, my aspirations. Hopefully, I could have had that with enough influence, good influence. But I didn't, so let's just move forward, eh? I don't really know how exactly, but it just feels right to admit a few things. And now that I've started publishing these voice notes, these diary entries now, that even if I don't share the link, even if I don't broadcast this channel, it still exists for me to listen back on. And I think that's going to be very, very helpful, because it is all part of the process. Whether I know it or not, this feels like the start of progress, which I welcome. And I'm still very, very embarrassed about this and anything else that I might choose to do that's in line with being so brave and so bold as to try to disassociate myself from this identity and feel so insecure and fearful of judgment. Judgment from just simply telling my truths. Why is that so hard for society to do, as individuals to do? I think it's one of the most important things that we should be doing. Because I think if we are even one generation in to a society that collectively decides to just be more honest, I think it really could change the world. Follow any methods, any tips and whatever that you like. Just always strive to better yourself. Always strive to get to know yourself. And the more you get to know yourself, then you might come upon ideas and concepts, like from Eckhart Tolle, talking about our enthrallment with this thing called ego, and then becoming the watcher of yourself. And then you go, well, if I follow on this storyline, if I'm watching myself, aspects of myself, then who's the watcher? And then you go, that's the next phase, Whatever you need to do, I implore you, I encourage you to do so. And if it requires something as scary as this, then so be it. Lean into it. What's the worst that's going to happen? I think it's all in a positive direction. Don't you?